Good morning, everybody. If I haven't said that before, yes, that's good. Right. I am the outgoing chairman. So I think the first thing we need to do is to elect a chairman. Any votes? Yes. Thank you. Seconder. Thank you, Richard. That's anybody and all those in favour? Right. Vice chairman. I propose Richard. Any seconders? Thank you. Everybody agree with that? Great. That's good. Well, let's got over that little hurdle. Minutes of the previous meeting. Any comments? I did read them and I think they're pretty comprehensive and pretty accurate. Well, accurate is absolutely right. That's good. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received none.
None. So Councillor Wilde-Smith, well, he may turn up, I don't know. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? No. Thank you. Chair's announcements. Yes, I have one, and it's a personal opinion. I'm really quite disappointed that the planning committee voted basically to change the structure of this committee. I think I've been on this committee for 16 years, and there is a great deal of advantage in the continuity of keeping up to date with all the enforcement activities that are going on in the council. And I think the fact that we've had Councillor Makepeace-Brown and Councillor Quarterman, you've been on this committee for about 5 or 6 years, and Richard, you've been on it for about the same sort of time. And I think actually keeping up to date with those points are a very good point. We need to have that continuity. And if we go to the new form, I think we will lose some advantages. I don't know what the officers think, but I'll ask their opinion in a moment. But I do think that if there is anything of any sensitivity, we can always go into closed session at the end of the meeting, which we do. And Kathy, I hope you're recording this because I want it in the minutes and bring it up at the next planning meeting or business development management meeting, if I might be corrected. But I do think it's good. I think this is it's not a powerful committee, but it's a very useful committee for the officers, I think. But I don't know, that's my view, and I think we ought to continue with this committee as it stands, because it has been a valuable, in my opinion, a valuable asset to the development management process. Mark, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just briefly, Chair. We don't deny it's a very useful forum. I think our desire was to try and make it more useful. I have, I think, spoken to you outside of this meeting and said that this is going to be the subject of a report to development management where it will be fully debated. So that will afford hopefully the opportunity for members to properly consider the merits of keeping it as it is or changing it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your point, because there will be an opportunity to discuss.
Any comment, Louise?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I echo the comments from Mark, really, in that it is always seen to be a useful connection between officers and councillors, and I think it is. My only concern is that, as you said, we can use the closed meeting option because there are on-time sensitive subjects. And my concern as the team leader is that our list really only shows you a fraction of what we do. And maybe not, so maybe some discussions can be shared. We don't want to make the report over long or too lengthy, but I have done a brief summary for this quarter because there's not been that much change to the list for a variety of reasons this quarter, but we have also done a lot of work that won't be represented on this update, and I think the officers have worked really hard. So I think maybe there's also other ways that we can, without making it too lately, what we've achieved.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Richard?
Apologies if I'm in first day back from holiday mode and therefore not entirely up to speed. My recollection is that the reason this was being looked at again was because of the changes that were being essentially imposed on us by changes in regulation from government, and that the remit therefore was basically just to look again at how we deliver this particular role that we do as a committee, and whilst I kind of absolutely understand your feelings about this, I think that we ought to let that process take its course, and we ought to wait the report and see what comes back. And it's always good to kind of reconsider and analyse and review our functionality and make sure that we're doing it in the most efficient and most effective way possible. So I just to say that, and I think we should wait for the review and then take necessary action.
Valid point. Yeah, absolutely. Righty ho. Right. So the other thing that this is Sylvia's last meeting. Regrettably, retiring. And Mark, over to you for that point.
Well, firstly, obviously, in this forum, I hope Chair and Committee will join me in just thanking Sylvia for her years of service, which have been quite numerous without putting a figure on it. We are very grateful. I think we've got a good team here at Heart, but did want to add to that we intend in maintaining a good team here at Heart. Tough act as it will be to follow Sylvia. I think we are going to be successful, hopefully, in recruiting to 2 posts, and that's now at an advanced stage. So offers have gone out and been accepted. So it's now down to it's a conditional offer subject to references and all those sorts of things. So yeah, we're doing our best to keep the resources at good strength. But we will miss Sylvia very much, and thank you again in this forum. There will be opportunity for officers to say that properly at another time. Thank you.
I have to say I agree with everything Mark said, and thank you, Sylvia. You've been a stalwart over the years, and thank you for all your efforts and everything like that. And I'm very sorry to see you go, because I think we're losing experience, which I think is a bit of a pity. Richard.
Just like to say, Sylvia, you were the first officer of Heart I ever dealt with, because before I was a councillor, you were helping me as a resident deal with all the issues that we had at the site in Molsham Lane. So I'm very grateful for all the work you've done over the years, both as a resident and subsequently as a councillor. So thank you very much, and congratulations on your retirement, and I hope you enjoy it.
Wendy.
Yeah, just quickly. Enforcement's quite close to my heart as a councillor, and working with Sylvia and Sharon, I think you're both amazing. And since Louise has been on board, I just think that our enforcement team is fantastic, dealing with the difficult situations you end up dealing with because planning grants haven't been worded in a way that helps you. I think you're fabulous. And we will miss you a lot. And I think to retire at 35 is very impressive.
And enjoy your retirement anyway. I'm sure you will. Have you got any plans? Yeah, good. Yeah, well, yeah. You need to keep your mind active, though.
Yes, U3A, I think.
Oh, you're going to join the U3A?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. I'm in the U3A, as you probably know. It's a lovely group. Sorry, Wendy. I should have done. I'll tell you all about the U3A later. Right. Now, we're going on to the next item, which is the backgrounds and the main issues. Let's go on. So it's over to you, Louise, to give us all the information.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. So referring to the main report and section 9, just a quick recap of our incoming service requests and the performance. We currently have 140 live cases. These are undergoing investigation or through the process of formal action or appeals against enforcement notices. In addition, we've got 28 cases with notices issued, and these include enforcement notices, planning contravention notices, or section 16 or 330 notices, which we use just to obtain ownership details and other information. In the last quarter, it's been a very busy quarter. We've received 52 new requests to investigate alleged breaches of planning control. And we've closed 80 cases, which is, I've got more details about that coming up in the next section, but is so much higher than before. There's been a focus on that, but all the team have worked hard on that too, particularly Sylvia, and that is a really, really good achievement for the team.
Close before you go.
Yeah.
Just a question, Louise. Is 28 sort of normal? 28 case notices, is that normal? It strikes me as being a bit on the high side.
The majority of those 28 notices are actually either planning contravention notices or the section 16 or 330s, which we use to get ownership confirmation or details from not outstanding enforcement notices.
It's not all in one quarter.
Right.
They weren't all served in one.
Yeah, and that's the current total at the moment.
Okay,
as Mark
right.
said, we haven't been issuing lots this quarter. We've also we've issued 2 planning contravention notices and 1 enforcement notice. Section 9.4, I won't go through them, but that just shows you the number of service requests from 2022 onwards, just so that you can see the comparison over the years there.
Fairly consistent in number, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the list of notable cases, that's on the next appendix. Carrying on from the figures just given, and before moving on to the actual list, as I just mentioned when we were speaking about the meeting, I just wanted to give you a quick summary really of the last quarter, just to highlight some of the achievements by the team, and also to say what we've been working on, that those figures don't necessarily tell you. And when going through some of the list of cases, you'll see, unfortunately, some haven't progressed since the last meeting. But again, hopefully that summary will explain perhaps where our work efforts have been. And again, it is a really big thank you to Sylvia for really focusing on her workload and getting as many cases resolved, progressed and closed down before she leaves. That's going to be a really big help to the team. Which will be me and Sharon, before the new officers start. And it's, it just makes the workload smaller to sort of pass on to the new officers. So thank you, Sylvia. That's been a great help.
If the places are being offered, when are they likely to be in place?
Chair, they're both on 1 month's notice. Once we've got the sort of conditions all discharged, then hopefully, 6 weeks, eight weeks max.
Okay, so there will be a hiatus for a short while, albeit over the summer holidays. And what about the continuity of taking all the existing ones forward? Is there going to be any handover process?
Yes, we've got, Sylvia and I have got, we've been doing handover meetings for about the last 6 weeks now, haven't we, Sylvia? And we've got the last 2 coming up this week. So we've had, as I said, we've been having meetings every week and we talk in between anyway, but, and then there'll be a final handover of those cases with Sylvia's also got all her notes and things. So they'll be distributed between the team depending on the complexity or whether they are. So that's all been considered. We've had some really good help also from one of the assistant planning officers who will also be continuing to help us out on some of the cases up until the end of August as well. So some of you will have had contact with Ollie Batchelor, but he's been really helpful and got stuck in with some of the enforcement work, and that'll be really good to have him until the end of August. And he'll also be keeping those cases that he's got and working with them as well. We've also adjusted to Sharon working 3 days a week, and she's also currently got 2 appeals on the go at the moment, so she's nice and busy. And I also just wanted to highlight as well that in the last quarter, we'd received 13 tree complaints of alleged tree complaints, tree works, where it's alleging works to trees subject to protection orders or protected hedgerows. And whilst that doesn't sound many, it's sort of, one a week, which tends to require an immediate response from an officer for an initial inspection, and then any follow-up discussions or follow-up work with the tree officer. So that's also been, we've had quite a few of those, haven't we, Sylvia? And they take up considerable time. And we've also had 3 reportings of possible encampment sites that have needed immediate response, and then finding out who the owner is. And the one site we've worked together as a team doing some daily site visits. So those haven't come to fruition, but obviously it was a lot to monitor. So we've had a very busy quarter.
Good. Have they been added to the list on that we're going to go through?
Well, they've all been dealt with and finished now.
All right. Okay. Fine. Yeah. No. In that case, yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So moving now, just start going through the actual list of cases. So first up is land south of Beechcroft or Hares Farm. And we have you're all well aware that we've got the High Court injunction and also the planning enforcement notice. Since preparing this report last week, we've had some finalised cost figures come through from Louise in Shared Legal Services, which we need to go through. I need to discuss these with Mark in terms of the way that we go forward with that outstanding cost recovery. And we've also got a couple of issues that as yet have not been complied with on the enforcement notice. The mobile home unit has now been removed, but we've just got a few smaller items such as the removal of the pig arcs, the access that was put down, hard standing there, although that is being grown over now, and they've still got their foul sewage system there. So we need to consider whether or not it would be expedient to pursue this again, bearing in mind the outstanding costs. So that's where we are with that case at the moment. But the good news is that they're definitely not living on site, and that residential unit has now been removed.
That's progress anyway.
Yeah. Chapel Bungalow, unfortunately, there is no particular update on this site this quarter, unfortunately. And I understand that will be met with frustration, Chairman. But we have had some positive outcomes in Potbridge this quarter. There's been some fly tipping on a footpath, and that's been addressed very quickly by Matt Sykes in Environmental Health. He did a really quick and thorough job there. And we also had reports that there's a site nearby, which you may be familiar with, Oak Tree Paddock, which had, it's got planning, which was allowed on appeal, but very only allowed sort of a number of mobile units, a number of caravans, and they exceeded that. So we've worked with them and we've got that down. So the parish council, we're in regular contact with them. So whilst it does, it's no consolation that we've not progressed with Chapel Bungalow, but we have worked with the parish council to get some other issues resolved, which their chair is pleased with.
Good, good. Yes, that's another thorn in the side.
Yes. Big Meadow, Mark, I don't know if you have an update or whether it's sort of,
Yeah, by their very nature, all these cases are very long-winded ones. There are other cases, obviously, where we deal with them within the quarter. You don't even see them, and others which are moving on and are not felt to be of this sort of profile. This one is high profile. Big Meadow. There has been some progress, but we don't have anything to show for it. The progress being that we have been told by the receiver that we can expect an application in the very near future, which hopefully will include an associated deed of variation to wrap things up. The delay has been caused in part, seemingly, by the official receiver actually changing hands. In other words, not the official receiver, the receiver has actually, the company has been, the employee involved and the assets involved have been transferred to a different company. And that has led to a hiatus in any progress, really, at their end. So we've been keeping ward members and parish in the loop. And the parish themselves, I believe have had a meeting with the receiver, a telephone conversation at least, or a Teams call with residents. But it is down to the local planning authority really to negotiate through the new application when, and I hope we do receive the application and we can report more positively to you next time.
But yes,
Obviously, I don't know the history of some of these cases, and I don't want to go into.
I'm just going to go into that for
Well,
you.
it was more a general question about when someone goes into receivership like that. Does the S106 monies owed remain legally bound to the land? So even if they go bust, someone else buys it, it's still legally required to be paid and things like that?
Yes, it goes with the land, and that's what we're dealing with here. So the original company folded, and then the obligation to pay the 106 has been transferred, and there's been negotiations to whittle it down based on the limited assets available. So the short answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, this has been a thorn in the side. There are 4 plots. One was occupied when it shouldn't have been. They haven't paid their 106 agreements. They've gone bust and all the rest of it. But it's a really, really difficult site. And the officers have been, this has been going on for probably what, 5 years? Something like 4 or 5 years. It's a long time.
6 years.
Do you want to speak to that, Sylvia, in the mic? Yeah.
It's a 2020 case, so it's 6
Yeah,
years. But
6
the whole
years.
site's been a nightmare from
Yeah.
the first spade going in the ground.
Yeah, absolute nightmare. Yeah, as have the other ones. Potbridge Road and Pickaxe Lane have both been awful. I mean, they've just been trying to play the system all the time, and it just takes time to go through all the processes. And as Lydia will tell you, the process of going through the courts, you've got to give people time to update, get their enforcement notice going and agreeing to it, and then there's some further information, and I'm sure we'll come up in a little while with actually having to get details of people's health and financial security and things like that. There are 1 or 2 later on which will come into that, but the legal process takes an awful long time. As you see from some of these, the action was made in 2022 on Pickaxe Lane, and now it's 2026 and it still hasn't been resolved. Okay, back over. Is that fine? Anything else to add, Mark?
I'd just say once again, Sylvia deserves a medal because this has been going on for a long time. It's been one of her cases, and she's been trying to chase it through. But don't worry, on her departure, I will take personal ownership of this to try and sort of get the whole thing over the line in the best form possible.
The way things are going, you'll be weighted down with all the medals you're getting, Sylvia. Right, okay, fine. Thank you, Mark. Now, 5 acres Broad Oak Odium, and this is a case in point of You're trying to get further information, is it not?
Yes, yes. So this is one of the cases where the welfare checks that you just referred to, that's been carried out for this site. On advice from legal, we're going to formal correspondence to the owner to advise prosecution recommendation needs to be sent, and this will be added to the final witness statement. Discussions with Toller, and we've now agreed that this step will now become part of the process of preparing a file along with the welfare checks. That will just be done automatically now, and we've learnt from these cases, and that will reduce time on future cases. So we know if someone cites sort of mental health issues or physical health issues, we know what welfare checks we need to carry out, and we also need this final piece of correspondence just to say that file is now being prepared and passed over. And as I say, that's going to be done as part of the process from now on.
Have they replied to the welfare checks?
No, we still had nothing. They were given, so we'll just assume.
That was issued about 6 months
Yeah,
ago.
oh, that was a long time ago. So as part of the statement that we'll add this final piece of correspondence to, it shows that we've chased that on more than one occasion and they've not responded. So the courts will see that.
In this case, Dermot, what actually happened, and Wendy and Richard have been involved in this for a long time now. What happens is that they don't adhere to the notice, that their enforcement notice that they're given. They complain that they can't do it because of either financial or health issues. And so we actually apply to them to justify those actions. And of course, what happens is they don't reply. The result is that this goes on and on and on. And there's no sanction for the length of time where there is a limit, but it's quite a long time, which again allows the situation to go forward further and further and further. And these are the lots of problems that we have, Wendy.
Yeah, just to say, I think that's a fantastic new addition to the process to put that document in now. So moving forward, if we get another case like this, then we're sort of giving ourselves a better chance. So well done for coming up with that.
Good point, Wendy. Very good point. Yes.
Chair, sorry,
yeah.
just a quick clarification. The financial circumstances of the recipient of an enforcement notice is not something that the courts will or should consider. It's not an excuse not to comply.
Okay.
So it's mainly to do with the welfare of the parties involved. If there are any children, if any health issues, and it all goes towards the test in determining whether to go forward with the prosecution. So it's a public interest test. So
Yep.
while we may have the evidential test,
Yeah. Thank you.
that's okay.
Thank you for identifying that. Okie doke. Further on, carry on, Louise.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, land to the north of London Road. There is some positive news on this one since the report went out. When the report went out, it was that the application had been submitted but was currently invalid. But that application is now valid, and it's with Pippa Moore's planning officer that's going to be dealing with that, and that's for the retention of the boardwalk. So the application, it's a bit later than they promised, but that is now coming. That's now coming.
So,
Yes, this one's in my ward, and I've got a lot of knowledge about it. I was one of the board members who met with Pippa on site to talk about it. The ward members did ask for various improvements because the boardwalk was not approved originally. It was a hogging path. They decided to just go ahead and build the boardwalk and then go in for retrospective, which was, as you know, refused and failed at appeal was upheld at appeal, the refusal. The improvements that they claim to have made are limited. They are not what the ward members requested. One area has been widened, quite rightly, because it was far too narrow, but only one area. The majority of the boardwalk is being left as narrow. Okay, fine, we understand why that might be okay and acceptable, but what they haven't done is changed any of the surface. They claim the surface is satisfactory. It really isn't. It really isn't. It is difficult to traverse on buggies and cycles. So they haven't done anything to address that issue. We asked for a very simple change, which was to put a lower level barrier along, and they haven't even done that. And that was really just a bit of wooden nails and stuff.
Unfortunately, it's come to enforcement. They've
Yeah.
overcome that enforcement notice by putting in another plan.
Yeah, I didn't really mean to go
We've now
into
got
detail.
to
Yeah,
we've now got to deal with all those
Yeah.
elements in the
in the new
planning
application.
committee on
Yeah.
development management.
So anyway, ward members have asked again for another meeting with the case officer to just progress that, but I fear it might be coming back here again at some point. We shall see.
I think you're probably right, because they're trying to duck shove on this, and I don't know why.
It really, the changes that would be required, if you ignore the fact that we wanted the whole thing widened, if we accept that the whole thing won't be widened, that would be the main cost. The other things are a very, very limited cost, and I don't know why they just didn't do them.
Yeah.
They just decided to avoid everything. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll look forward to this coming back to enforcement in about 6 months' time. And I'm afraid that's just going to continue. Yes, right. Okie dokie. So it is valid at last,
Yes, it is. Yes.
and it will be found. It will come to development management, won't it?
Well,
Bound to.
I'm sure, Chair, that one way or another, we can engineer that, but obviously the rules are changing about member calling. So I'm not quite sure when this is likely to hit committee, but it's probably not.
Call it in. You can call it in.
Yes, it has to go through the gateway, which hasn't yet been designed.
Oh, that's fairly typical, isn't it? I think a public interest test covers this one, doesn't it? Or is that not valid anymore?
That's not yet written in, so we need to actually finalise the criteria by which we define whether something is significant or not.
Is that up to us, or is it up to the government?
It is up to us, and we're in the throes of the officers are working with other officers at Basingstoke and Dean and Rushmore to come up with a proposal to be considered by members. So it's a difficult question to answer in the moment. It's just
Right. Dermot?
we're in the process of change.
Yeah, of course, this isn't actually a residential development application that might have been intended to be caught by that simplification. This is an amendment of condition, of course, something that hasn't been done correctly in the first place. So they're trying to amend the condition. So when you're designing this gateway, something like this, I don't think it should be possible for that to just slip through, avoiding scrutiny in that way, because it isn't. I don't think it was probably intended to be caught by that new simplification, if you know what I mean. That was for residential developments to sort of streamline them. But where something's not been done correctly, then surely that should still be possible to scrutinise properly.
Yeah, I mean, the national delegation scheme is not something we've designed, but there is a provision in there for certain types of application under certain circumstances to go to committee. I'm happy to take this one away and advise whether in time, whether or not this is likely to come to committee, but without the rules having been defined to determine how it gets there, it's difficult to say whether it would or wouldn't. I'm sorry to be so mealy-mouthed about it.
We've got 2 months to set the rules to get up there.
Yes, they're in the process of being devised.
Oh, but isn't that giving us not enough time to do it? I mean, it's got to go through. It's got to go through the council meeting because it's a change in the constitution, and therefore there will be amendments coming out from that. So isn't that leaving us with rather little time to do it properly?
Yeah, we've been working with our monitoring officer and the chief exec, as well as other councils. We've been given very little time by the government to actually get this in. We're now a bit more than a month in. We've got to get this in by the end of October. So, so we're in process. The thing is, you haven't yet seen it, so I appreciate you feel that you're somewhat out of the loop.
Yes, another muddle. Yeah. Right. Okie doke. Now we're on to Swallow Cottage.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is the this is the other second case, the other case that I don't have an particular update on this site this quarter, unfortunately. No application's still been submitted. We do need to chase that up, and we'll ensure that this is done and some progress is made ready for our next meeting.
Because that's been that came in November, you know,
Yeah.
nearly 5 years ago. Yeah. So we need to sort of push on that one.
Yes, we will do. Yes. Land north of Winchfield Court. This is the same situation as 5 acres, where we've just agreed now the changes to the process with the welfare checks and the final correspondence to advise of prosecution recommendation. So that's the same as the other case. So when we meet next time, that will have hopefully progressed further down there and the system.
So what happens if they don't comply? It goes to court, presumably.
Oh, well, this is the one where they haven't complied and we are looking to go to court. So we've got the prosecution folder ready. We've done the welfare checks, and the witness statement for the welfare checks is open. And then in agreement with Shirley Toller particularly, we've discussed it with, we just need to add this final piece of formal correspondence advising them of the prosecution recommendation, just as with the 5 acres one that we discussed earlier.
So that's going to run out a bit, isn't it? That's in my bit. It's been a thorn in the side for the last goodness knows how long, which is a nightmare. Yeah. Okie doke, right. Granary Court.
Yeah, Granary Court. So the prosecution report files with Shared Legal Services. We've done some additional witness statement is requested, and Todd has got an update for you on that one.
Just to say that we do have the witness statement and we have gone through it, almost completed it, and there's just going to be 1 or 2 minor tweaks, and then it'll be straight to the next process, which is to get the prosecutor's checklist approved and then go for a date in court.
Yeah. It's such a pity that we're having to go to court with all these things, but just because people won't comply. Right. I mean, it's just right. Elverton Bridge.
Yes, that's good news in that the application is now valid. The application had come in at the time of the report, but it hadn't been validated, but that is now valid and running through its through the course of that. So that should hopefully, I can't see that there'll be a problem with that.
Is that the one that's in and round in the woods? That's the one that, yeah, okay. So that's on its way to resolution, and then that will come off this list.
Yes.
Yes, it's subject of a valid planning application. So that will be considered by the officers. And of course, it won't come to committee, I suspect.
No, I don't foresee any problem. Is it coming? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
The agent, it will need to come. Yeah.
But
right.
Apologies. Yeah, the agent. It will go to planning committee.
Who's the agent?
Councillor Harwood. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yes. I think his tentacles went that far. Right. Okay.
But yes, nearly there on that one. Vantage House. We're still awaiting the appeal decisions. We've got four decisions pending on that. So really hoping that we get that before Sylvia goes. So keeping fingers crossed, because that would be nice for her to get that before you finish, wouldn't it, Sylvia? But yeah, no more that we can do on there, as you know. We're just awaiting those appeal decisions now.
Dermot, you want to come in on this one? Yes, it's in your patch.
It is, but it's a personal interest, not a pecuniary or any other sort of personal interest. My daughter lived in this block for about 18 months, but that was many years ago, and it was on one of the middle floors, which I think the ones that are valid. It's the lower and upper ones that aren't valid, isn't it? Yeah. So I do know this one well. If any information is needed on that, the parking was the main issue I found there. They claimed that they had much more parking than was actually allocated to the flats. It was very, very strange, but I don't think that forms any part of the issue at hand. It was they were telling people how much parking they had, but it belonged to another unit. It was very strange.
Yes. Oh, well, so we're just awaiting the on that. Yeah. We can't get the planning inspectorate to move any more quickly, but there we are. That's it. Right, Triggs Cornwall Road.
Okay. So yes, the update on this one is that the planning application has now been approved for a temporary period of 3 years. The enforcement notice has been withdrawn on the basis of that planning application. So for the next 3 years, they've got their permission in place. We will obviously monitor it, depending on who's here in 3 years' time. But we've done what we can with that site now. They've got permission for what they're doing, what they want to do. So
you can take that out.
Are you happy to take that off the list? Yeah.
Definitely.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Is that the one that is just literally off the 287 into that road and then it's on the left?
It's the next one. You've got 4 roads. Where our homes are. Got a house and it's just past there.
Further up towards the village.
Yeah, it's still quite close to the 887.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still very close to the junction, but it's a little bit in. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know where you're.
It's the metal detection place as well. I don't know whether you see that. Yeah. Okay. Car park adjacent to the White Lion Antiques. We located an historic notice that was served in 2019, which I've spoken to Chairman about. This was in regard to a breach of condition requiring the car park being used and retained as a car park. The case notes and legal advice on the file need to be reviewed and also checked in terms of the notice wasn't complied with and the reasons behind that. I've been out to the site again because if we do need to serve, if legal advice is that we should serve a new notice, because I believe that the area that we would now need to put on the notice is different, and also some of the requirements of the notice may now need to be different, but we're waiting to hear back from, luckily the lawyer that dealt with that in 2019 is still with us for the time being, so we can get some advice. But it's positive that we found that notice, and either way, even if we have to serve a different notice because the area's changed or time frame, I've also been able to, from the case notes, found that we're in time. So one way or another, we will get a positive outcome.
Yes, I have to say I did some research on this and asked the Heritage Society what they thought. They weren't all that bothered. They've been there for 7 years. But Parish Council said, yes, we want to get rid of them because it's an eyesore as you come down Star Hill into Hartley Wintney. So that's why we're proceeding with the action. They do look a bit unsightly, but they weathered quite well. Dermot,
And just it doesn't say location, but I think I know where you're talking about, on the A30, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that they're using the car park for
sheds.
Stuff rather than parking.
Selling sheds, not shedding cells. Yeah, okay. No, they're not antique sheds. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Right, that's progressing. Good.
Yeah. Land to the east of Derby Green Lane. That's all been good, because that was that kept Sharon very busy. Well, kept and Mark busy as well for some time when we did a temporary stop notice. Then we served an enforcement notice and also an injunction on that. So temporary stop notice was replaced with an enforcement notice, and that now has been appealed. Sharon's currently working on that appeal, and they've appealed on grounds F and G, which is that they're saying the requirements of our notice are too excessive, and that we haven't given them long enough to comply with the notice. So they're not arguing that what they've done isn't wrong, but so we're in the middle of that appeal statement prepared and ready to send back to PIN. So that's where we are. But on a positive, despite sort of the threats to officers, there has been no repercussions, and nothing further has happened on site either. So that is good.
Richard?
The planning application that's referenced there has now been refused as well. So I don't know whether the applicant is proposing to appeal against that. I don't know if you have any information on that.
I can double check with the planning officer. I'm sorry. I can double check with the planning officer. But we were aware of the appeal coming through, but it took a long time to get the start letter from PINS on that. So I can check. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments on that, Richard?
Well, just to say that obviously the application was refused on, I think, very solid grounds by there were objections from Yateley Town Council, there were objections from the Yateley Society. It's a change of use from agricultural to equestrian was what was being requested. Already effectively done a lot of the work, and what will have to be done if obviously if they're successful on appeal, then I suppose they carry on. If the appeal is up, if the decision is upheld and the appeal is unsuccessful, then I don't know what they will do. They will presumably need to convert the land to agricultural use.
Yes, the requirements of the notice is that effectively they undo everything that they've done and put it back to how it was. That's the requirements of the notice. Planning inspector may change some of those requirements, we're not sure, but our requirements of the notice were to do everything that they've done and return it back to its former state.
I mean, actually, it wasn't in active agricultural use. So the land was basically it had some trees, it had various bits of overgrowth and bracken and brambles and things on it. So it can't be easily restored to what it was previously. But we shall have to await the outcome of the appeals before we can see what they do.
Thank you, Richard. Now, Russell Powerboats.
Okay, yeah, last one on the list for this morning. So we've had a couple of site visits and site meetings with the owners.
Can you identify what the issue is on this one? Can't remember.
Yes.
I could remind you because I raised this last time. Russell Powerboats are a company that have been operating a powerboat business on one of the lakes next to the River Blackwater in Yateley.
Yeah.
And they have started work on a set of what I would describe as floating caravans, as kind of holiday homes. So it's a change of use, and its work has started without planning permission. That's reported to me by several residents, which is why I've raised it here. And now we need to determine exactly what planning permission process they're going to go through in order to deliver this, if they want to deliver it.
So is it Yateley or Eversley Cross?
It's Yateley.
So it's not Eversley Cross.
No, it's Yateley. It's the Horseshoe Lake. The actual lake is at the end of Balsham Lane.
I know it. Yeah.
I could hear the powerboats from my house.
Right.
But
so you've objected too.
In some respects, floating caravans are less intrusive than noisy powerboats. But anyway,
yeah. So that's the background.
Yes, so we've had some site visits with the owner, the enforcement officers. Sylvia's been out, and with Ollie and Lloyd. Our tree officer's also been out a couple of times. Referral has been made to Environment Agency regarding some of the works undertaken. And what we're now doing is, Sylvia, get you to jump in a minute. We're preparing Planning contravention notice. We've asked some questions, but there's some information we want under planning contravention notice. And Lloyd is making his assessment in terms of the trees. Thinks they're probably at the limit of what they have done is at the limit, and any further works would need to be referred to the Forestry Commission. I had a further chat with Lloyd last week in our one-to-one, and we're going to put together just sort of a final warning shot for them to have. And as I said, Sylvia's been out on site with Ollie, because obviously when this came in, it wasn't going to be something that's resolved before Sylvia leaves. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Sylvia.
There's not really a lot to add. It was brought to our attention because there were a lot of lorries arriving with hardcore and other materials, which were being, and then were leaving empty. When we went out on site, first time we got told to go away. So we went away and then sent them an email saying we've got powers of entry. So we went back. And as we were there, a lorry arrived, and we're not having any lorries delivering materials. Got a lorry, yeah, just backing up, you know. So it is, I don't know what his intention is. He obviously does want to come back in with another application for these floating holiday homes, which is a beautiful setting. So, you know, I haven't looked at the reasons why it was refused, but I think he's maybe beefing up the hard standing areas to sort of accommodate.
Why didn't they put in a planning application?
Well, they did, and it was refused, I think, or withdrawn. So
It was refused.
I don't think it was refused. It might have been withdrawn, but
It was, sorry,
I don't think it's been refused. I don't think they've had an application refused. I think it may be that they withdrew. But anyway, well.
actually, it was a pre-application request.
Oh, right.
The pre-app response wasn't positive, but that's not the way the owners read it. So
Are these considered as boats or houses?
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, you're right. Absolutely. Sorry, I now remember, because they had a pre-app, and the pre-app was they were hoping to get a decision that they could do all of this under permitted development, and the pre-app advice was no, they need to get planning permission, and they haven't yet applied.
Is this a boat or a house? Or both?
I haven't studied the details properly, but it sounds like a sort of tethered floating holiday
Floating lodges that are very.
holiday lodge. Yes, yeah.
I think you're right, Councillor Quarterman. There is from sort of some of the feedback that I got from Lloyd, it is that they're looking at what can we do that is perhaps intensive or time consuming as the power boats, but is going to lend to a second business that, you know, gives them a business to provide income. So yeah,
Sounds quite a nice idea, to be honest.
Obviously, the planning application will have to be considered on its merits when it arrives. I would have thought, I mean, the switch of use from powerboats to holiday accommodation doesn't strike me as being problematic. I think the thing that might be problematic is the access, because at the moment it's just a track, and if you're going to be using it commercially, you'll probably want to do something about that. Presumably there'll be more people using it if it's being used on a regular basis. So there'll be some things like that that'll need to be sorted through.
How many of them are there?
14 in the plan.
Sorry.
Chair, sorry, I would cite this as an example of where possibly officers could be a bit more helpful and open in closed forum, just talking about planning merits without committing. But obviously in the public forum, which this is, albeit we don't know if any members of the public are watching. So
Being recorded.
I would say that this is an example of a sort of case where we could be more open without necessarily having to take the formal motion to go into closed session. Just a
I'm
point.
going to take a vote. Can we go into closed session? So handing off, management manager can second it. Yeah. All in favour. So I'm going to close the meeting now. Okay. I'm going to close the meeting at whatever it is, and we can now talk about these issues. Bye. No. This will be an off the record conversation.